Hello, and thanks for joining me. When we last talked about Evangelist's pointless thorns on this channel, he was attempting to attack atheism with a green pen. It didn't go well for him, and I'm not the only atheist to say so. Today we're looking at another Pointless Thorns video, in which he trades in his green pen for a stupid hat and a pair of Groucho glasses. Now you may be thinking that, once again, this can't possibly end well. And you'd be right.
Hello, human. What is this? Blah, blah, blah.
No, we're not gonna blah 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 what the atheist has to say. If you blah 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 what another person is saying and then replace it with what you think they're saying or should be saying, that's just a glorified way of talking to yourself. So we're actually going to read the damn thing. There are no gods, no devils, no angels, no demons, no spooks, no monsters, no ghosties, holy or otherwise, no magic, no miracles, no ooga booga, no witches, no fairies, no spirits, no souls, no supernatural anything. Now, I don't know where the word ghosties came from, but otherwise, I agree with all of that. Blah 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 me at your own peril.
Oh, okay. I see what we're doing here. Hashtag atheism. I'll play the role of the atheist. Oh, wait. I gotta change hats for this one.
In my previous video, I dealt with the veracity of his claim that he used to be an atheist. Rather than revisit that territory here, I'll just make a bet with you. I'll bet that if he was an atheist, he never actually wore a funny hat and Groucho glasses in any serious context. What you're seeing here is mockery. And not mockery of the kind that might actually help someone realize their position is foolish, but gratuitous mockery. The kind of mockery you see on the schoolyard. The kind of mockery that serves nothing but your own ill will toward the other.
Listen, I claim a lack of belief, yet I believe that God does not exist.
There is no contradiction between those two if by belief you mean belief that God exists.
And it is unnecessary for me to pose an argument against God unless I have a belief God does not exist. And that belief would need to be defended, but I won't defend it because it's actually a lack of belief, which is actually inconsistent and illogical.
If you are a strong atheist or a positive atheist and you claim that positive atheism is true, then you have the burden to demonstrate that. However, unless they are very confused about what words mean, every positive atheist is also a negative atheist. They also lack belief that God exists. And when it comes to negative atheism, there's nothing to defend. There's no claim there. If an atheist does positively claim that God does not exist and then refuses to defend that, then they would indeed be irrational, if that's all there was to it. And living as you do in an echo chamber, Thorns, it's understandable that you might believe that that's all there is to it. It's not excusable, but it's understandable. Upon even a small amount of examination, however, you'll almost always find that when a positive atheist refuses to defend their positive claim that God does not exist, it's because they think that positive atheism is adequately defended by theism's failure to prove God's existence. And this is a rational position, provided it's conjoined with the proposition that, if God existed, its existence would be so apparent that it would need no argument or proof whatsoever beyond, hey look, there's God right over there. Or something equally attainable by theists and verifiable by atheists. Which, when I examine the concept of God that we're talking about, I can't help but agree with. So there's no contradiction in such an atheist's views.
Everything was created by nothing, out of nothing, and for no purpose, or that the universe has, always eternally existed, yet it exists without reason.
We don't know whether or not the universe eternally existed, but no attempt to show that eternal existence is impossible has yet succeeded. And all scientific attempts to show that the universe had a beginning only apply to the observed universe. Without reason is correct, provided you mean without cosmic reason.
Everything in nature with a design is without a designer.
Inasmuch as anything in nature has a design, that design is the kind of design that doesn't require a designer beyond an impersonal force. The design of a snowflake, for instance. Every snowflake has a unique pattern, which we might refer to as a design. The process by which a snowflake forms is now well understood, and the individuality of each snowflake comes from the unique micro-circumstances under which each snowflake formed. No Christian who understands this fact believes that God designed each and every one of the quadrillion snowflakes which fall every second on the planet. They believe that he could, but they don't believe that he does. See, this is the difference between theists and atheists. We think that the universe has a lot in common with a snowflake, but you insist on saying that it's more like a snowman. I can't help but think that my position is a bit more respectful toward nature.
Order came from chaos, of course. Materials could somehow collaborate in order to generate life, which produces emotions, thoughts, distinct personalities, and a will to act. Mere matter in the shape of a brain is capable of producing thought.
Remove the word mere from that section, as in mere matter, and I would ask what your problem with that is. Why could matter not generate life, emotions, thoughts, personalities, and will? Leave the word mere in, on the other hand, and I would challenge you to defend the necessity of the word. I mean, clearly you think that something more is required, and it could be that you're right, but this has never been demonstrated. The best attempt to defend mind-brain dualism actually comes from an atheist, philosopher David Chalmers, with his philosophical zombie thought experiment. And this argument, while sophisticated and admittedly pretty cool, is controversial at best. Given the extent to which we are capable of altering mind and life by manipulating matter, it is not unreasonable to believe that mind and life have a material basis.
And those thoughts are somehow material rather than immaterial, even though I can't weigh my thoughts or dye them in an experiment.
But again, you can alter thoughts, emotions, and so on by altering the physical brain. This is a well-known phenomenon.
Non-life produced life, and minds came from a non-mind.
And a snowflake comes from a non-snowflake. And a star comes from a non-star. And a chair comes from a non-chair. Life coming from non-life and mind coming from non-mind are only controversial ideas because you choose to raise a controversy in order to try to preserve the rationality of theism in the modern age.
Morality is nothing more than a mere matter of opinion, and so Adolf Hitler must be praised for living out his moral truth.
Look, you say you're a former atheist, but I will eat my shoe if you ever actually believed that Hitler was praiseworthy. Future Dave here, that last part was just the dumbest thing I've ever said. It really was. Because what I forgot at the time was that the phenomenon of the Trump era has revealed the fact that a great many Christians do in fact believe that Hitler was praiseworthy. So I'm reneging on that bet. I'm not going to risk eating my shoe. Instead, let me put it this way. Christianity was instrumental in the abolition of slavery. Christianity was also instrumental in the perpetuation of slavery. So I don't think it's possible to claim with a straight face that theism-based morality is anything more than a matter of opinion.
Life is a program of survival, you see, and so sacrificial love would be a malfunction, not an innate desire to fulfill a greater purpose. And in fact, saving someone's life is rendered pointless in a purposeless existence.
It's hard for me to see where sacrificial love is manifested in Christianity. Christians sacrifice by, what, giving part of their money to charity? Generally not without A, a sermon, and B, a tax write-off. Christ sacrificed himself? Even taking the story at face value, his sacrifice was he had a lousy 36 hours and then ascended into eternal bliss. Not much of a sacrifice. If I sacrifice myself to save my wife, I don't expect to survive the sacrifice. I expect that that will be the end of me. And so my sacrifice has more meaning than any Christian sacrifice. And in doing so, I am not acting purposelessly, but am in fact fulfilling my life's purpose, because that purpose is to take care of her. And by the way, anyone who says that purpose isn't good enough can go straight to hell. Furthermore, to call my willingness to sacrifice myself a malfunction assumes that I've been designed by a personal or impersonal force to behave differently. Personal forces were not a factor in the creation of life, and the impersonal force of evolution has guided many animals to behave in self-sacrificial ways for the sake of others in their group. So if anything, sacrificial love is operating according to spec. But it's hard to call it a sacrifice if you believe you're going to get everything back with interest.
So what I consider meaningful love would still be without purpose, because everything and everyone ultimately comes to nothing. Oh, that's depressing.
I'm still waiting, and I suspect I'll be waiting for the rest of my life for some Christian to make the argument that if everything is finite, then everything is meaningless. Again, this is a case where it seems to me the exact opposite is true. If you believe that you have a literally inexhaustible bank account, then it would be hard for you to see any value in the $20 bill you found in your pocket. Similarly, if you believe that both you and the person you love will literally exist forever, and that you'll be together literally forever, then it's hard to say that you value that person. Of course, I believe that Christians really do value the persons they love here on earth, and I believe that it's because they at least suspect, deep down, that they won't be with them forever.
There's no purpose, so I should never expect to experience joy or expect for things to go right. And a random and purposeless existence, pain and suffering should be expected due to the inevitable destruction due to chaos and disorder. Without intelligent design, all that exists is unintentional creation destined for disaster. It's so depressing.
So, at this point, he's just repeating himself. No purpose, all is random, all will be destroyed. Would it be just, like, super ironic of me to say blah, blah, blah? I mean, I just railed against it at the beginning of the video, but on the other hand, when you say the same things over and over again, despite being confronted with good reasons to not believe them, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because A, I'm not replacing it with a straw man while wearing Groucho glasses, and B, it gives me an excuse to pull out this video of Alex Lifeson of Rush and what must surely be the greatest acceptance speech ever delivered to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah.
The purpose of life underlies all approaches to solving that mystery of evil and sufferings. And without creative purpose, I actually have no reason to complain.
This proves by implication something that atheists have been saying for a long time, that if there is a creative purpose, we have every cause to complain. I don't know if it was Hitchens or Dawkins or one of their predecessors who made this complaint. What designer in their right mind runs a waste disposal unit through a recreational area? As for the purpose of life, check out my video on atheism and the meaning of life, where I talk about the various difficulties in having a purpose of life in a theistic universe. And as for evil and suffering, it's no mystery at all, provided you assume that God doesn't exist. Abiogenesis and evolution by natural selection seems to be the way by which the impersonal forces of the universe give rise to life and intelligence. And these things involve a certain amount of suffering, as does the exercise or apparent exercise of free will. In other words, shit happens and there's not always someone to stop it, as there would be on theism.
And in fact, I have no reason to trust my thoughts because our minds are an illusion created by the physical processes that are occurring in our material brains. And if this is the case, then our thoughts are merely the result of it's a series of physical causes, the resulting effects.
I don't see how any part of that follows from any other part of that. Mind is an illusion if it's physical? How do you even try to justify that? I'm not even going to bother going into the different proposed models of mind under physicalism. I'm going to make you justify what you just said, because you can't. Thoughts are merely the result of physical causes? Again, remove the word merely, and you've presented no difficulty whatsoever to materialism. Include the word merely, and you need to justify its inclusion. Thoughts are untrustworthy if they're material? Many types of thoughts are untrustworthy, period. Even the Christian must grant this in order to explain the types of thoughts that lead one to believe in the existence of entities not compatible with Christian theology. Naturalism has no trouble explaining this. Our thoughts come from imperfect processes. But for the theist, it is difficult at best to explain why a cognitive process designed and created by an all-powerful creator who cannot make mistakes should lead to untrustworthy thoughts.
So you might believe you are thinking freely about what I just said, but in reality your thoughts are simply the consequences of neural dominoes falling one against the next.
And in your reality, your thoughts are exactly what God knew since the beginning of time they would be. Go ahead, try it. God purportedly knows that you'll be thinking a certain thought exactly 5 seconds from now. Try thinking a different thought. Can't do it, can you? So don't talk to me about thinking freely when your own worldview entails predetermination. And yes, I know there are attempts to rescue the compatibility of free will and divine foreknowledge. For an overview on why they fail, see my video on the free will theodicy.
In a world of strict causal physicalism, free will and freely reasoned thoughts are simply an illusion.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
So I can't really trust that thought that I just said.
Hey, that makes two of us, pal. I don't trust any of the thoughts that you just said. Future Dave here with a quick epilogue. This video originally contained a long bit about intellectual dishonesty, because in the description of his video, Pointless Thorns accuses all atheists of intellectual dishonesty, which in this context means to make arguments which you know or reasonably ought to know are fallacious. But since Thorns has disabled comments on both today's video and the video I covered earlier, the red pen green pen video, he has deliberately prevented feedback on these videos from reaching him. But for that prevention, he would be aware of the fallacies in his arguments, if he isn't already. And so I was preparing to call him intellectually dishonest. Now, I removed this section after noticing that several of his other videos do in fact have comments enabled and did not record it. But then I wondered, why do these videos in particular have comments disabled? What they have in common is, unlike the videos where comments are enabled, these videos address atheists in particular. Now, Thorns would no doubt say that he is disabling comments on such videos because we atheists are a bunch of meanies who say mean and hurtful things. Which is unfortunately true of some atheists, which is precisely why he should not only welcome but actively solicit comments to such videos, thereby letting the world see just how mean and hurtful we are. This, combined with the supposed fallaciousness of our arguments, should disincline any of his viewers from joining the ranks of atheists. But he doesn't do this. The only reasonable explanation is that to invite comments on his specifically anti-atheist videos is to invite comments which are capable of accurately refuting his arguments. And so I am reinstating the charge of intellectual dishonesty against Pointless Thorns. Time will tell if his future anti-atheist videos refute this charge or confirm it. If you enjoyed this video and want to help my channel grow, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Be sure to hit the bell to be notified when a new video hits. And if you want to share your thoughts about which is mightier, the pen or whatever the hell we just saw today, leave a comment below. Thanks as always for watching. We'll see you in the next video. I'm John Wellman, and the rest is up to you.